Hey everybody, it's Melissa from Geeky Witch. You know me also as Misi if you've seen my blog, and I go by my regular name Melissa all over the place too. Welcome to another edition of my FlossTube, and thank you again for joining. I hope that you enjoy what I have to show today, and I would love to hear your feedback and questions, comments, whatever. Love to hear them. Today is November 2nd, 2020. It's a chilly Monday night here in Rhode Island. I'm enjoying the first of 3 vacation days that I needed to take, partially because of all the election craziness tomorrow, because I know I'm not going to focus on work, and partially because I just needed the mental health break, and I needed to take some days before I lose them at the end of the year. So it's a good start to the week. I got a lot of the chore stuff done today, so now I can just relax pretty much and stitch and bitch, and tomorrow night there'll probably be a lot of bitching, but we'll save that to the end of the video. I'll catch up on all the personal news then. For now, we're going to get into the stitching. So today I'm going to talk about what I did in October, my plans for November, and a few things that I've bought. Spent too much money, and a couple of initial thoughts about 2021. It seems early, but with how crazy this year has been, it's the end of the year is going to sneak up on us. And I kind of start mulling about things at the beginning of November because I know as soon as Thanksgiving comes around, it's like the rest of the year is in a whirlwind. This year, who the heck knows? I mean, every month is a year, and every month is a millisecond at the same time. So who knows how it's going to go. So anyway, so let's get started on the stitching. October was a very good month for me. I was part of a challenge on the Apocalypse that I run. And 4 times a year, we have a 1 per day challenge, which is to pick one piece. You commit to it the whole month, and you have to stitch at least 1 stitch per day on it. And that's it. If you only do 30 stitches or 31, depending on the month, you've successfully completed the challenge. But of course, it's kind of like the potato chip thing. If you do 1 stitch, you're probably not going to just stop at 1 stitch. You're going to keep going that night. And ideally, you're going to get a whole lot done. So I've run this challenge now. This is the 2nd full year we've done this on the Apocalypse. I've gotten a lot of really great feedback on it. The idea is not mine originally. I came across it on Heaven and Earth Designs group on Facebook, and they were running a 100-day challenge, which is, a heck of a lot more, but it was keep track of your progress for 100 days. And the amount of work you can get done on it is shocking, especially for 100 days. Reality is, I want people to be able to feel a lot more flexible with this, so a month-long challenge seemed more reasonable for the Apocalypse. And it was a great month for me. I kept track of everything on a printout stitching blog that I bought last year, which is the 24 Hours of Cross Stitch. I don't know if you've run across this. There will be a copy, by the way, for 2021. I talked to the creator of it, and she expected to have the new version of it out sometime in the next few weeks, depending on what her workload and whatnot is like. But if you go on Etsy, and I will link that in the notes below, definitely, this will be an option again. And it's a great tool to keep yourself kind of organized, make some dreams, whatnot. So this was my individual stitch log per night. Now, I am not one of those stitchers who counts as I go. I counted this at the end of the night when I used a highlighter on my hard copy piece, because I stitch from hard copies. That's just my thing. I am not a pattern keeper person. I've been stitching for 30 years. I cannot get myself out of that rut. So highlighter, mark it up. I know where I've been. So as I go through and I'm highlighting, I count them up at the very end of the night, and here we go. So the piece I picked was I Love New England, which was created by a shop in Plymouth, Mass, which sadly no longer exists. I do not think that this piece was published anywhere outside of the shop, so very doubtful you'll find it anywhere. But it's a really pretty piece, and I am a little over, I want to say I'm kind of between a quarter and a third done on it, but not quite a third yet. I've got way too much fabric here, so let me fold this up a little. So this I am doing on 28 count antique white, and this is I Love New England. So I did 1,660 stitches on this last month, which was pretty incredible. I had a couple of nights where I hit over 150 stitches. That makes a huge difference. So when I started, let me use the breast rack here. I had this heart here, and all of this is brand new along the side. I had a few letters here and there I had to add in, but it really was predominantly this border. And it's deceiving, but the straight line border, this is 3 stitches wide down here, and this is 2 stitches wide here. Same thing here, 3 over here, 2 over there. So that amounts to a ton of stitches, and they add up in a hurry. So that is where I'm at, and I'm really, really happy with where I've gotten on this. I am going to put this away for a little while since I've been focusing on it for a month solid. I don't know if I'll bring it back out in December. I probably won't. I'm probably going to let it rest till the new year at this point, because I would like to touch on a couple other projects that I really wanted to do something on this year. So this likely will take a little nap until after the new year at this point. But I'm almost ready to go to the next page in the pattern, which is awesome. I just have a little flower to backstitch here. And down here by the word pudding, there's a smaller version of these red hearts to add in to the actual text. And then I'm ready to switch the page, which is awesome. So it's almost like a mini finish for me. So that is that piece. The next one is the Women of the Mayflower with Thy Needle, Brenda Gervais. I haven't gotten a lot done on this, mainly because I was focused on the other piece. But I did get a little bit done. I got a couple of these birds. I'm still worried about them not showing up on this fabric, but I'm going to take a look at the whole piece once it's done, because I know things can be deceiving when you don't have a lot of the stitches in. I got a little bit of this done, and I got a little more of the waves done. That's about it. Not all that much. I like the piece. I'm just not quite focused on it right now. So I'm probably going to keep this in the hoop for this week, and then I probably am going to put it away for a little while and just kind of see where I go with it. But again, I don't expect to get back to this till the new year, just because the holidays are the holidays, and I'm going to be keeping it really wide open in December. The other piece I've been working on this month, and I mentioned that my plan was that every Sunday I was going to be sinning, which, you know, I'm going to do anyway. But in this case, it's And They Sinned by Exemplar Dames. And here is what it looks like. And I'll get up really close because these stitches are teeny, 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 tiny. This is 56 count. I am stitching, believe it or not, over 2 threads. And this is smaller than a quarter here. So that gives you an idea of how freaking tiny these are. Yeah, and that's a regular length needle, by the way, which looks huge here. It doesn't look like I've gotten a lot done, but I actually have gotten a decent amount done this month. Of course, it's so small, and I really don't work well with a magnifier. So I'm stitching on this regular eye, just with really, really good light. I managed to finish the missing half of the wing. I got both of the snakes completely in, And as you can see, there's a weird little outline here and the beginning here of the Cloud of Doom. And the Cloud of Doom is one of the first stuck points for a lot of people who do And They Sinned, because it is a massive amount of stitching here at the top. And of course, on this count, it's going to be like 1.5 inches wide, but it's a couple thousand, maybe 3,000 stitches. It is a solid block of stitching down here. So my plan is that I'm going to keep outlining the cloud. There's a few little motifs that go in here. I'm going to put those in. And then what my plan is to start going down, continuing down the sampler. And in probably April, which is the next time I imagine the apocalypse is going to be a 1 stitch per day, I'm going to work on this piece for that. And I'm going to just start slowly filling in bits of the cloud. It'll all be outlined. All the motifs are going to be in there. So I'll be able to just sit there and stitch and not have to worry about looking at the pattern. It's just what's going to be there. And meanwhile, on Sundays, I'm going to continue down the project. So I'll be making a lot of progress there, and I'm not going to feel like I'm stuck on this rut up here. That's my plan. We'll see if I actually follow it, but it sounds like a good idea now. Yeah. Anyway, so that's where I am. This is staying out. This is going to be Sunday for the foreseeable future. I've heard rumors from my friend Amy, Gable Stitcher, that she and some other folks are going to be starting this at the beginning of the year. Come on over, sit on Sunday with me. It's a glorious time to stitch. Yeah, but anyway, so there we go. That's where that is. I'm sure Amy and everybody else will be caught up with me in no time, and then I'm going to fall behind everybody else, as I normally do. But yeah, so that's all my stitching for October. Obviously, most of it was on I Love New England, but I'm really happy with what I got accomplished. Really, really, truly. So the next thing I've got is what's coming up. Well, because I'm a sucker for challenges, and especially the challenges where it's, do a stitch a night, do a length a night, I stumbled into one late on Friday, I think, by someone I've known online, Stasha, for years upon years upon years. I've never met her, but I've known her through message boards and whatnot for probably upwards of 15, 16 years now. And she's running a private challenge to do a length of thread per night on a piece. Her ideal was you pick either your oldest whip or whatever whip you have, works in progress for those of you of my friends who aren't stitchers, whatever whip you have that's closest to being done. And aside from a couple of Wenslers, which I have already said, nope, I'm not doing any Wenslers this year. I'm taking a break from Wensler this year. Oldest whip closest to being done fell to one specific piece. And it is a piece that I desperately want to have done, and it drives me nuts to stitch on it. It's one of those pieces. It's like, yeah, I want to have it done. Stitching on it is boring as hell. So I figured, you know what? This might actually work out well if I'm forced to do a length a night on this thing. And it is what I have affectionately named the Big Blue Monster. Start putting the Everything is Blue Eiffel 65 song from years upon years ago. I should find that and kind of put it on the background here. Because everything is, in fact, blue. All sorts of blue. Lots and lots of blue. And not only is it blue, it's light blue Ada, and you stitch it in 3 strands of blue. Yeah, lots and lots and lots of blue. The only thing not blue, obviously, are the cat's eyes. I've got about 10 rows up here to do, and I've got a little bit down. I know there's a spot here. I don't know when that got there, but it's going to get covered up by stitching, so I'm not worrying about it. I want to say it's probably going to about there. So it's pretty well done. It's a bear to stitch on, and the problem is that now that it's so thickly stitched, trying to get this sucker in a hoop just does not work anymore. I'm going to find one of my looser sets of Q-snaps. Last night I was trying to stitch in hand to get the first length in. That was interesting. Didn't work very well, but I did get them in. You can see I went all the way across because it was one color. So I started there, went all the way across, and was starting to find my way back, and then ran out about halfway through. So that was one length. It was a long length, but because I've got 2 rows of that same color, I was like, well, let me just do the whole thing and see how far I get. So that's what I'm working on for the challenge this month. We'll see how far I get. In theory, with enough of these lengths of the month, and if I'm doing my long lengths, I can make a pretty good dent in this thing, hopefully. Because, like I said, love the piece. I would love to put it up on my wall. I've had this thing going since about 2002, maybe 2003 at the latest. It just needs to get done. It's been sitting in my whip pile for essentially my entire relationship with my husband. This is getting ridiculous. So, yeah. We'll see where it goes this month and whether I'm ready to fling it across the wall again, like I usually am when I work on it for a couple of days. So next on my list is Lottie Da's Leaping Cat. And this is a little piece, and I apologize for it being wrinkled. It's on a piece of linen that if I look at it funny, I swear it wrinkles. It's like wearing linen pants. This thing does not unwrinkle. So this is where it is now. It's a teeny tiny piece. It's really not that big at all. And I want to get this done because the original charted piece had 2002 as the date on the bottom of it. So it would be very convenient to be finishing it in 2020, and all I have to do is flip 2 of the numbers. And I don't have to rechart the date of when I finish the thing. We shall see. So yeah, it's a cute little piece. I'm doing this on, I know it's Picture This Plus, and I'm pretty sure that it is 36 count. Not sure what the color is. I'm thinking it might be, yeah, I don't know if it's Legacy. But it's kind of in that, the Legacy, it's not ale, but you know, Legacy or doubloon or one of those in that neutral category. Probably Legacy. I don't think I've cut into the doubloon yet. But yeah, I'm doing this in the called for threads. It's mostly Gentle Arts. There might be a couple of weeks in there. I can't remember. I haven't stitched on this year. It's been a while. So this is going to be finished this year. I am keeping this out until it's done. And really, I should be able to get this done just fine this month. So there's that one. The next one I'm going to work on, and I don't really have a lot of big goals for this one. All I'm going to be doing in November, this is Early Americans, and this was my New Year's start this year. Doing this on 40 count granite dust from Silk Weaver with the called for threads. All I want to do on it this month is get the last squares done. I've got one here on the bottom left to do, and then I've got 3 down the right hand side, and that way I can trim up the rest of this mess, because I am one of those paranoid stitchers that I will start anything on a gigantic piece, and once I know my full dimensions, then I'll cut it down. So the only thing I really want to get done on this is get those squares in. Anything else is great, but considering what else I've got in the work pile, I'm not expecting to get anything else done on this. So I will call it a big win if I meet that goal. It's a really cute piece, and I'm hoping starting in January, if some of my initial ideas that are percolating come into, fruition, I'm going to make much faster progress on this. But I think once I have the squares done, regardless, I think the progress will be a lot faster because I'll have all the dimensions and then it's just popping stuff in there. So that's that piece. The final piece I have here, I am not planning on stitching. However, I am going to be doing some frogging on it, and it annoys the heck out of me, the amount of frogging I have to do on this. Any of my friends that have heard me complaining this year know exactly what piece is about to come up on the screen. I did this piece for, I want to say this was in the June one-a-day stitch along for the Apocalypse. And I was so happy. I was making such great progress. And then I got to the end of motif and my count was off. And I'm like, how can I be wrong? It's matched up perfectly with everything else. So I start backtracking through the motif. And yeah, it was all right, except for I started the initial motif that I'd based the other motif off of and given it an extra space between it and the top. And unfortunately, this piece, it actually, yes, this is not a piece I can make that adaptation on there and go, screw it, it doesn't matter. When I hold this up, you're going to know why. And I'm so pissed. Actually, let me get the needle minder off of where it is here because it will block the view. This is Witch's Wheel. Now, you can't probably immediately see the error, or maybe you can. Once I point it out to you, you will. But this is stitched on 32 count Solar, which is the called for fabric. All of the stitching is in black DMC. And then there's going to be a whole mess of beads that are going to be put on here in a whole mess of colors. And this thing is going to be blinged out to within an inch of its life. The top half is completely done and counted correctly. But this down here, I added an extra row between the eyes and the brim of the hat. And that throws everything else off. And unfortunately, because of the way the rest of this piece is constructed, it absolutely will make a difference. So, yeah. So I've got to pick out that hat and the stars and that salamander and the beginning of the witch on a broom, which doesn't really look like a witch on a broom because that's where I found out I was wrong. But it will be another one of these witches on a broom. I got a lot of frogging to do. And yeah. So it's been in timeout for a few months now. And someone I follow on Instagram just finished hers. And she was like, I got back into mine because I saw you working on yours. I'm like, all right, fine. I need to pick myself up and just stop and get it back so I can get this thing done. Because I'd really wanted to get this done for Halloween this year. And once that mistake happened, I was so ticked off. I literally used my hoop as a Frisbee and I threw it across the room. I have not done a proper hoop Frisbee in a long time. This one got Frisbeed. So I'm going to work on just frogging that mess out. And I'm so ticked because it looks so good, but it's not right. And I am not the stitcher who normally cares. If I can work around it, I will work around it. This piece, unfortunately, can't work around it. So the goal is to frog. That's all I'm going to do. Just frog out stitches. And I'm going to put it away. And again, we'll see where we are in December. I'm hoping that after frogging it, I'm going to feel okay and I can get back to stitching it next month. Maybe it will become next month's, doing a length on it, because if there ever was a piece that's ideal for doing a length a day on it, It's this, because it's only one color. The entire thing is one color. Very easy to measure. So that's my stitching plans for November. Let's see if I can stick to them. Actually, I'm not that worried about it because I've got the rest of tonight to do some stitching. I've got tomorrow, I've got Wednesday that I'm off. So I can get a bunch done. Then, of course, there's Thanksgiving weekend and weekends in between there. It's getting colder. I'm going to be home more, you know, curling up on the couch. It's the time of year I do my stitching. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think I'll get quite a bit done. So moving on to purchases. I have to blame about 5 different people who did the Black Needle Society surprise box, and they were doing their reveal of the Halloween box, and I jumped right in. So, starting whenever I get my first one, you're going to see them every other month or whenever I get them, because I signed up for a full year, like sight unseen. I'm insane. Yeah. So anyway, that's the first big purchase, and I have nothing to show for that one yet. That's coming later. Yeah, we'll see how that is, but that'll be a fun surprise next year. The next thing that I got, and this was another thing that someone showed on FlossTube. This is from Stitch Toolbox on Etsy. She's out of Quebec, and she does really cute project bags, and they're mystery project bags. So she has the project bag, and then inside of it, she has a chart. She has some random little things either to finish a project or, you know, little doodads, whatever. And then she includes some tea. So I got the November one, and it is a very pretty project bag. The inside is all buttons, which I'll show you in a moment, but there's stuff in the bag. So it comes with stuff. And this month, there is a really cute little piece called Beauty of Stitch Toolbox. And this is by Twin Peak Primitives. It's out of the Netherlands. Not a designer that I'm familiar with, but it's a really cute little piece. And I have a few different things actually that I think I could finish that on. So that's the pattern that came with it. And then there's a little packet that has some neat butterfly cutouts and a wooden heart flosser. I'm keeping all this in here because I think there's a cat in here and I don't want stuff to go flying everywhere. Buttons, and then some finishing lace on a bobbin tag. Really, really cute. So that will be fun, and I'll probably play with those on this because they actually could probably work together. Here's the, now that it's empty, here's the inside of the bag. Lots and lots of buttons. Really, really cute. I like it. And it came with a packet of apple and raspberry tea, which will be awesome because I don't drink tea in the summertime, but I love drinking tea in the evening in the wintertime. So I have a stash of tea that I am ready to use up as I stitch, and I cannot wait. So that was one purchase. Then the other purchase is starting to plan for 2021. If you have visited my friend Amy, Gable Stitcher, on her blog, well, on her FlossTube, she is currently working the burgundy band sampler from iStitch. And that is round, gosh, 4, maybe 5 of these band samplers. Every year has been a different color theme. My friend Becky has done all of them. Some of them she's done over 1. I don't know if she's done any of them over 2 yet, but I know she's planning to do this next one over 2. Amy is doing the burgundy one over 1. And next year's theme is jade. And I decided, because I love greens, I love the colors that you can find in jade, I decided I'm going to jump in on this one. So I bought myself some new, I had a little bit of banding, but everything had a colored edge on it. So completely plain, off-white. This is kind of an antique. Well, no, it's a little bit darker than antique white, but it's not quite what I would call cream or ivory. It's kind of, it's like a slightly darker antique white. Just fine for what I'm doing this on. I have 2 meters of this. I bought mine, and Abby, do not get angry with me because I know. I bought mine from Scandinavian Stitch. It came within 2 weeks. She had some history before of lots of problems, and I was a little worried, but I figured, you know what? Everyone is sold out of what I want, or it's going to be coming from the Netherlands, and with mail the way it is, I'm going to take the risk, see what happens here, and it worked fine. So, I know, stop screaming at me from Billerica. Abby. Anyway, so I bought this. I'm happy with it. I got 2 meters of it, and I think it's going to look great for what I do for the eye stitch. The next part of this, of course, though, is the floss. And this gave me an excuse to buy from a dyer on Etsy. I've been looking at this floss for like a year, and it was I need the project to do this on because I'm loving these batches of floss that she's coming up with. They're just a little bit different than everybody else's, and this needs to happen. So this is from Amaranthine on Etsy, and again, I will link it up at the bottom. I bought 2 packs of her floss because I wanted to make sure I absolutely had enough for this project. I have more than enough, but that's okay because I'll be able to play with this on plenty of other things. I found she had a green collection that amazingly has all of these different shades of green, which, of course, if you've seen Jade, it comes in a wide variety of shades of green. And sometimes even there's little tinges here and there of brown and tans and whatnot. So this is my color scheme. Isn't this cool? Like, lots of different things. Some of it gets a little more bluish. Some of it goes super, super light. There's a couple in here that get a little Kelly shamrocky green. But I think when they all go together, it's going to look really, really cool. And I'm going to do a lot of different play between the strands and the colors and just see. Sorry, my phone is telling me that I'm almost out of battery. And see how this all works together. So I will link up these places on Etsy for you. Definitely check them out because they're worth every penny to go and invest in all of our fun new dyers and, just give us more depth to our hobby. And if you want to join the iStitch Stitch Along for next year, I'll link that up too. I don't know how many copies she's selling, but everything, she's doing all of the invoicing and whatnot through email. So I'll give you the instructions for it. Yeah, so that's it as far as the stitching goes. So just for a really quick, here's what's going on with me. Well, I'm still working. Eric's still working. And I am home for the foreseeable future. Especially with how, everything's going on with COVID again, and it's on the uptick. I don't see going back to my office anytime soon. So I am working at home. My husband is still working full-time at the hospital. His hospital last spring became a COVID-only location. They have not announced anything yet that it's going to go back to that. Hopefully it doesn't. If it does, my husband works in IT, and he really wasn't allowed to go on to the floor where everything was happening in the ICUs, thank goodness. So I'm not too worried about him, But at the same time, you know, it's still a hospital. I'm still worried about him. My son, Max, he's in 2nd grade and in school full time. He has been going full time since mid-September, and things are going okay. He has had some scares lately. There have been some kids who have gone home the last week or so for one thing or another, you know, sore throats, tummy upsetness, that kind of a thing. Nothing's been said about a chance of COVID, but as soon as a child goes home, that class goes into the protocol. They get pulled into a certain room while their classroom's disinfected, and I still think it's the safest place for him to be right now. Mentally, he's just in a really good place, and he's continuing with his learning. He's having a good year. He just tested last week for his most recent karate belt, and he succeeded, which was awesome. And he'll get it tomorrow when we go to karate class. And yeah, that's kind of all that's going on here. We had a good Halloween. It was quiet. There were some trick-or-treaters, and I took Max around, but it was a really quiet night. Partially, you know, again, because of all the COVID issues. Partially because it was freaking cold here last night. We got some snow the other day, and it was just chilly. And this is speaking as the girl who grew up in Montana. It was a cold Halloween night. It was a very Montana-esque Halloween night. But he still, you know, he walked the neighborhood. There are probably only about 15 houses open, which was okay. Most of the people had really cute little decorations out in the yard, and just, you know, for kids to just come and grab something out of the bucket instead of ringing the doorbell and whatnot. Everyone was playing it safe. Everyone that didn't have like a costume mask on, everyone else was wearing masks. Very well behaved around here. So he had a great time. I think my 7-year-old cleaned up the neighborhood and was the last one out at 7 o'clock. It was dead quiet here by like 7:30. We shut up shop, and we have so much candy left over. I think we're going to be eating candy until Easter. I swear. As far as Samhain celebrations, as those who know me, there is a reason why I'm called the Geeky Witch. I am a practicing religious witch. However, I was a very bad pagan the other night, and I did not do anything for ritual. I just didn't feel the need this year. I think that everything with COVID has just kind of been this constant mulling it over, and I chose instead to just quietly curl up and do some stitching. And maybe it was a stitching meditation in a way. I did do, you know, I was thinking about my family members who have passed on, and pets that we had to say goodbye to this year. We've lost 2. We're nervously kind of holding our breath about a 3rd who's looking a little rough. We knew this was going to be happening this year because we are the House of Wayward Geriatric Cats. We have, well, currently we have 5. We're down to 5 because we lost 1. 5 that are age 15 or older. So we knew we were going into a couple of hard years. COVID definitely is not making this any better. But yeah, so it's, you know, I've been thinking about this a lot. So I just didn't feel the need to formally sit down for a ritual. I probably will in the next week or so, but it just didn't feel like the right time. So yeah. And I've got a kitten meowing at me from outside the door. I don't know if you can hear. That would be Ellie, I think. Anyway, so that's it here. And I thank you for putting up with a little bit of rambling here at the end. But yeah, things are okay, but it's been tiring. And I'm really getting pawing at the door now, so I probably should go stop and say hi to whoever is desperately needing my attention. A mother's job never quits. Anyway, thank you for joining me for another one. I hope that you and your loved ones continue to be safe and healthy. Please stay that way. Please drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.